time to get up and go.
Mill. This is the Saturday, the 6th day that the project's been going on this year. You can see in the foreground that we have the jack fence that we're building. Materials furnished by the BLM, labor by all of us. Right behind the fence we can see that you have the office, and we're looking north, the office sitting on the west side of the mill. As you can see, the rocks are still there. The window that had the frame is gone. And here's the gate that we built to allow the people to get in to see the mill, but at the same time try to keep the cattle out. We'll just take a little tour now and see what the workers are doing. In the far distance, the board leaning against the doorway at the very top is the entrance to the upstairs of the mill. So we'll head over that way. We're building the fence completely around the mill as we head around the west side here. In the orange vest is Mark Sant. He's project leader of the mill, and then Al is down the hill putting on the rails. Are just about finished with all of the rails. Have to still put the inside rail on. This is a window on the west side of the mill. As you can see above the new wood is almost a beehive shaped crack, and the crown where the rock was about to fall out. Now this plate that you see above the header is manufactured by Ken and Gail from an original, and the wood has been treated, and the two sashes on the side were made. Okay, let's see if I can get those nails in there a little better. There's the north edge of the mill, and the last remaining window pane window, that is one with the mullions in it. Way up at the top of the peak there's 3 rocks holding that. Eventually, if we get enough scaffolding and enough room, we'll try to manage to stabilize that. Going down on the lower side of the mill now, and the fellas are finishing the fence. There's Al, Mark. One of the problems in the first tasks that were done by the BLM people were to cut the trees out, and that tree that you see the stump in the foreground is 70 years old and was leaning into the mill. So the BLM used the winch on the truck to hold that, to keep that from falling the other way. That whole wall has fallen out there, and we don't know what the doorways and so on are for it, but we'll have to check that, and maybe someday we can get that more stabilized. And of course there's a big crack there that needs to be mortared in. They're notching the rails. Nick's Folly. They're trying to blame stuff on me. Mark's notching out the rail, or pole as some would say, and Pete's helping him.
Who are you talking to? I thought I lost his Bible.
Pretty cool up here today, and we had rain rained out 2 days ago. Yesterday was a cool day as well, but beautiful to work. But the mosquitoes are a little tough, which I wonder what the old timers did when it came to mosquitoes.
Whole fire, chief. Whole fire, chief.
Here's the back side of the window that Mark is working on. Putting the mortar on. There's the second window is repaired.
Build smoky fires.
Yeah, that may be.
There's the original from the inside. It's in good shape. And there's Candy, and there's my wife Betty McCoy. She's painting the, preserving the we're looking at the timbers and the supports for the barrel amalgamators. There's 4 barrel amalgamators for each Chilean roller, and the Chilean roller sits above where that big hole is. I don't know what that square hole is. Tried to figure that out. There's some other process things going on. The things that Betty were preserving are some other kinds of processes that we don't understand. As you can see, the inside floor of the building is full of rubble and rock, and that's simply where the walls have caved in and the rock have fallen inside. There's that crack in the wall. You see it's pretty deep. Don't know how much we'll get done on that and repairing, but we'll eventually try to stabilize that. You see the other forms for holding the barrel amalgamators. And again, we're looking through a wall that's fallen in and all the rubble in front of it. There's that upper window on the north end. We're looking, it's right above the boiler room. Looking down into the boiler room now. The big door to the left is shown clearly in the Matthews sketch, and in that sketch there's a wood pile out in front of it to the north. And so, and also there's a chimney coming out about on the left side of your screen there, that would shown in the roof of the Matthews sketch. And in the foreground you can see the bolts, and we think that the boiler was on the left, and then this rectangular row of bolts on the right is where the actual engine was. The timber that's in the foreground is a rafter timber from the floor, which is fallen in.
I find them very fascinating myself.
Notch there and one here.
Gail and Ken pointed out that they built the woodwork and then they did the stonework around it, and those ears on the woodwork then anchored into the masonry and held the whole thing together. So now when you go back to repair it, it's a little more difficult when the stones are already there, but they're doing a masterful job. There's no doubt about that. We're standing on the north side looking toward the south, and another wall that's crumbled in, and right in the foreground here is a deep ditch, and right to the right here is a place where water and materials had to exit the building. The stonemasons even made a nice little rock for that. Work in this building is just magnificent. There's the vault door where the gold was stored. In the south side of the office, we're looking through the now crumbled and gone door that went into the office. Here you can see where they've taken out the original material that was rotted so they could replace those pieces. And here's one standing up. There's a header, and you can see the square nail. and where that all fits. There's the header, the old header, and you can see the rounded part. And there's several cuts that are made in there, several angles. There's another square nail. And Ken and Gail are rebuilding those. They're being wood preserved, and they should last for many, many more years. And they're essential to do that. We hadn't thought we would be fortunate enough to get them repaired that well, but it's going to look much better, and that wood needs to be there to keep these walls, to keep them from falling apart. Here's what remains of a rafter pole from the office, and then here's the window that they've taken out in preparation to repairing it. The main purpose of this is to stabilize rather than to restore, but in order to stabilize, by using and putting pieces that are duplicates of the original, then I think we have a better chance of making the stabilization last a lot longer.
The picture you guys building fast was down there and getting the southern exposure on both of them.
Hey Mark, tell me what you think about this project. You're the BLM man in charge.
I think it's going pretty good. It's going a lot faster than I thought it was going to go.
Well,
I guess the masonry is going to slow us down a little bit, but
yeah, that'll take a little longer.
I'm having a hard time keeping up with Irma, I'll tell you that right now.
Irma's a worker, I'll tell you.
She's got 2 rails ahead of us there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you guys go to work then. As long as I can stand behind this camera, I can act like I'm important. You guys getting a little faster at making these pieces?
Yeah, kind of getting the...
Tell you what, we're fortunate to have the skills that you guys, we never dreamed we'd be able to duplicate those pieces like that.
Yeah. I'm really glad for the opportunity of doing this.
Yeah.
It's learn something that I had no idea that it was as complicated and such beautiful work that they did.
I'm sure that was all hand tools, certainly not
Yeah,
power
All
tools.
hand tools.
they didn't have chainsaws or power saws.
Slow down, Irma.
Well, I know in the list of materials when they sold the mill at a sheriff's sale, they had lots of tools in terms of carpenter tools, they had machinist tools. So there was a variety of craftsmen that were in the mill.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah, you would have had to have machinists, millwrights, carpenters, masons, just a variety of different workmen that would be needed to build a place like this.
And the stonework is awful good too.
Oh, yes.
Too busy. Almost too busy. Well,
Okay, we're ready to cut.
Hmm?
So we're ready to cut.
Here comes the cook. Apparently she's cooking preservative today. Can you say hello, Gwen?
Hi, Nick.
Say hello to everybody.
Say hi, everybody, huh?
No, I haven't. Okay.
Okay, here we're cooking up a mixture for the preservative of the wood. You use 50% turpentine, 50% linseed oil, and then you put an ounce of paraffin wax per gallon of mixture. We're heating it so that the wax will melt and be absorbed in with the oil and the turpentine.
Is this a recipe that preservation has come up with, or how do you get that?
Yes, Lee of the BLM attended a seminar on preservation, and he got the formula there at the seminar.
Right up the hill from Gwen there, can you see the witness post, I guess? I'm not sure, just this is BLM ground. It was never patented. And way up there you can see the stake and the rocks, which marks the corner. Of course, this whole hillside and above this, where we're standing, is where the Ora Cache mine was, where most of the rock for this mill came from. That was one of the fabulously rich mines, and this hillside's covered with trees now, so you can't see a lot, but when 10,000 miners were in Alder Gulch, there wasn't a tree around. They used them all up for whatever reasons they had to use them for.
Over there still too. Found a big gold nugget in there the other day.
One you gonna share with me?
Wouldn't have to turn that over to Christenot family, would they?
No, that's the largest. Really neat.
Replacing all those headers and those door frames. It's gonna help
Well, we'll
strengthen
keep the
the
rest of the wall up too.
Okay.
What'd you say?
Some more mortar. I don't know what. Let's get this off of my trowel.
What day is today?
Sunday the 13th. Get some off me here too. Are you gonna get us some more?
I will in just a second. How many sacks we gone through, Mark?
Well, we got over 1,000 pounds yesterday and about 500 pounds today almost.
Pretty hard to mix.
Yeah, it takes a while.
A lot of mix.
Harder than it looks.
What do you think about all this, John?
Pretty nice. Pretty neat.
Well, John's gonna need to practice talking in front of a camera here.
There's Reddy. He's helping do all this. What was the first time you came up here, John?
Oh, it was a long time after I lived here. I've got it written down when it was. It would be about maybe 1981 or 82. And I'd heard about it for years. It was really quite an exciting event when I come around the corner there, and after taking a whole lot of wrong roads, and finally I come around the corner and there was the mill.
Were there any rafter beams up in the floor at that time, or?
I remember there was some laying, no, they were all laying down, but I think they were kind of laying diagonally across the inside.
Uh-huh. What section fell down, John?
Part right around the corner between the boiler room section and the, where we're standing.
Uh-huh. Well, there's the entry to the upstairs.
The arched window was still up very well until a couple of years ago. It was, I can't remember if it had any stone around it when I was first up here, but I definitely remember the nice arch up there.
Yeah, the arch was there in 93 or 4 when I was here. 93, I think.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago, I think, and maybe we can get Ken to rebuild that. We got some pieces.
I got an idea of how this little 4x4 stuff over the thing worked, and I wondered if I could get you to help me in a minute, Nick, and we'll set one of them up
Okay.
on top and see if it looks like it's right.
Do I get you on tape?
Yeah, right
No.
there, that's an extra
I was not gonna
thermos
put
cup.
that on tape.
No, the thermos cup right there, that's an extra,
This is-
off mine, go ahead and use it.
Okay.
I brought it up,
Whose coffee can I steal?
anyone.
Let him.
That's the one we're,
All right. Okay.
can we or can we not?
Okay.
Yeah.
A nice new window frame there.
Yeah.
Looks really great. The boiler room. They're fine craftsmen.
Yeah, they really are. So what is this thing we're looking at?
This is the top of the thing that I think fed the amalgam barrels. I suppose it would be easier to explain this if we started over on the bottom part,
Okay. Over on the other side?
over here. Or do you want to go
No, we
into
can do
the
it.
sun here?
We can do it right there.
I think the Chilean roller mill probably went up here on this wooden platform of 8x10s and was probably, the ore was so rich they brought it in by wheelbarrow, and after it had rolled in the roller mill they put it into the amalgam barrels. And looking at the base now down here, made of approximately 7x8s, all beautifully mortise and tenon together, pinned with 1-inch wooden pins. The bolts that are countersunk into this, instead of going clear through the whole piece like you'd expect them to do, they're about a 3/4 inch rod, they only go into here to this little mortise or tenon, it's a mortise hole, which also is the same hole that to put something together, but it's very effective. There's a nut down there, and the countersunk bolt is put in and screwed into this nut, which is completely enclosed inside of the piece of beam, other than the little slot in the bottom that you can see it. Very, very sturdy construction. On top of this, I think these rounded holes here, I think, are where the bearings went for holding the amalgam barrels. And on the side, strangely enough, they're not all on the left side or all on the right side. They alternate. On this particular one, I guess I'll call this the left side. The next one is on the right-hand side, the next one on the left-hand side, and the next one on the right-hand side. There's a little cutout space here on the side of of the left side that has a lot more posts in than what the right hand side of the same piece has. It's got double the amount of posts, and there's a cut out area in every other one of these posts, which happens to coincide with the area where the bearing for the amalgam barrel set. And I think this may have been an iron bracket that was bolted on with 2-inch bolts and probably held out here the outer bearing of the pulley system that turned the amalgam barrels. And that's why they would line up with the amalgam barrel section.
So it's probably overhead shafting and pulleys that drive from the
Yeah,
engine and boiler
yeah.
overhead.
The line shafting would probably run one of these pulleys, and then there was probably an arrangement to run from one barrel to the next. There's 4 barrels in each rack here, and something like maybe 30 inches in diameter. They'd be, or 24 inches in diameter, because they'd be plenty of room to put those about 24-inch diameter barrels and still have room around them to work. This rack area above this,
Okay.
there's a system of 4x4s that's beautifully mortise and tenon together, and they fit into little gains in the main beams, and all beautiful craftsmanship work. I think what this was a system of bins that, or chutes that let the slurry, after it's been ground up in the Chilean roller mill, be placed into the amalgam barrels. There's a beveled piece on these side pieces. I think this system, of course, was like a sort of a ladder that covered the whole top of the system, and there would be beveled chutes coming down out of those that would allow you to pour into a small hole in the amalgam barrel. Over here on the leaning against the wall is one of these racks, and it's setting so that we're looking at the bottom of it. There's beveled surfaces sloping in each direction toward the center of that rack, and these are coincide with the centering of the amalgam barrels.
That makes sense, and I suppose there was a platform along which the men could work and tend to each barrel, and maybe they have to stay out of the way of the pulley and the shafting that would be driving. So
I think maybe the platform they worked off of is going to be discovered in this little notched area between the, coming out between the 2 sets of 2. There's some heavy 10x10s in there with some tenon joints or mortises in there, and I bet that there was a platform in that area that came out so you could work easily onto either one or the other of these 2 systems. And that may explain why the pulleys are on the left and then on the right, because it's easier to avoid the pulleys and the belts that way.
that would make sense.
Foundation by 8 system of wood, mold, mortise, and tenon together, where the engine actually stood or sat and was bolted down with those bolts, which are all on perfect centering. Next to that, there's a little green evergreen tree and a kind of a hole there. I think that's the flywheel hole. The large flywheel, part of it underground, and to the left of that, there's a base where there were 4 bolts. I think is the outrigger, which would hold the outer bearing of the flywheel. And the boiler itself must have been over in that area, and I haven't found any archaeological things of it yet, but there should be some good evidence of the boiler. The center line of the flywheel, I bet, lines up with exactly the center line of the building and the milling section back here, and that's why the boiler room is, I think, offset from the rest of the sort of the building as far as the entire boiler room, being further to one side than the other.
The Matthews sketch showed the smokestack and the engine over to the left side, so that would fit.
That's laying down here that's fallen in. It's hand hewn and about a 10x10, and very interesting that it's a hand hewn beam. I think the center line of the flywheel shafting probably came right about through here, and the engine, of course, would be off to one side, being a horizontal engine or a crank. It has to take up room much off center of the whole system. And starting right about here, there seems to be a stone wall that's made in the ground. It may even be curve shape if we were to excavate it. It would be probably ending way over here, which would be where the big wheel would have turned, and the center being about in there. And I don't know what this is yet. Another 4-bolt pattern here, whether that's part of the engine or some other item bolted down. And that leaves this area over in this region for the boiler, whether it's a horizontal or vertical boiler we haven't been able to discover, but we probably will find some evidence of that, because boilers seem to leave a lot of evidence, usually archaeologically. There should be soot and coal dust and or whatever. They didn't have coal, but burned cinders and so on. So it could go most anywhere. You didn't find anything about them having a compressor, though.
No, I haven't. I don't recall that in the list. They had lots of pipe, steam pipe, and for the boiler, and they had carpenter tools, machinist tools. So there were a variety of trades. Obviously, they had stonemasons and carpenters and laborers and lots of things.
Hard to have water go into a steam engine that's under pressure, a boiler. Have to have a high pressure pump to inject it, and they didn't have injectors yet then. I bet this was the pump to force the water into the engine. Doesn't look like they put them up on a very high table for that, but maybe it was sufficient.
That's the office door there. The only way into the office, what I thought was an office door, is really a window, and it makes sense then. When got controlled access to the place where the gold vault was. Although if somebody wanted to break in, they could have broken in that window.
There's a kind of a little balcony there above the floor height of the milling floor, above the level of it. You go up maybe 2 feet. There's a shelf there, and then the office door on that. A similar one on the other side. Interestingly enough.
There's got to be a place for the workshops, although they could have. Wonder if they had run any belting outside the building to.
Well, they could have even had that big building behind here be the shop.
And here's the carpenters making noises, sounding much like it might have sounded when they were working here 130 years ago. There's the gate. Keep the cows out, let the people in. How many of these have we built now?
Let's see, we got 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 5th one. Yeah, we got one more after this.
There's the original one that made the pattern for us. There's quite a few complicated angles. Makes you wonder how they thought of that or where they learned that. Was that something that somebody taught somebody, or was it something that they just figured out?
Someplace along the line, somebody had to teach someone on it. Of course, the first one to come up with it, the original one, that he had to be kind of an engineer of his own sort. It's a very interesting joint. for the
100 years like the other ones, 130 at either case. I wouldn't even have to be that long and they'll outlast us, huh?
yes, afraid so. But
Right,
hopefully there'll be others to be able to come and see it and appreciate it.
right where Gail is sitting is a large flat spot that may have been the shop. There's a large building in the Matthews sketch, and that may be where the shop was, or some sort of offices or something.
Burnt my onion rings.
Is this got lemonade or water in it?
Lemonade.
Lemonade.
Don't hold it out there too fast. He's pretty quick.
Well, see Candy and Al are working on steel Al here.
Well, that's a good sandwich.
Pretty good cooks. Yeah.
See how Red, I think you can have these onion rings.
They're not too good today, huh?
Little softer than what he wants them now.
A little crispier. Red, is it alright if he has these, John? Red.
Yeah. Don't stick your finger out there. He about jerk old Gert's hand off yesterday.
No.
Yeah, Al found that out.
A little bit of
You just start talking to yourself again?
Yeah, he's loving that.
no. I learned this time. I've got all you guys recorded.
Does he talk to himself at night too?
Then he gets after me for doing it.
No.
He blames me for talking.
Well, I can't hear myself. You're snoring so bad.
That's true.
Black did say he didn't hear me last night.
I never even heard the neighbors come home.
It is now Wednesday morning, the 16th of June. This is the last day of the 97 stabilization season. All of the window frames have been rebuilt and put in. Sashes, headers that needed to be replaced. Only the upper story windows you need yet to be done for another season. The team, as you see, Betty and Mark Sant are doing some last minute preservation on some wood. We have a long ladder in which we can make some higher measurements of some of the other windows. All in all, it's been a highly successful restoration period. The BLM people are more than impressed at the volunteer effort and the craftsmanship of the Christenot family. This is the west wall. We have all of the headers in, and Lee Walsh is just now finishing connecting the stonework. We used over 1,500 pounds of mortar, but Lee is connecting up the rest of these stones with some mud from the creek. Tell us what you're doing there, Lee.
Well, we used the mortar on this corner back here, and we tried to fill in the gaps with the mortar, and we really did go through a lot of mortar. I think it came to 3,000 pounds, but I think next year when we go, all this clay material, native material that was originally here is still close by, so I think that'd be the best thing to do is individually stack the rock, fill in all the voids with native material on the base of the hill, and we'll get some water around and let it soak in and maybe make it like a two-stage step, let it settle in and then come back afterwards and put a thinner layer of mortar on it. It seems to bind it fairly well with water and the soil that we've been using here.
We can see next year how this holds up for the winter, and that'll be a good experiment to see how it works. This is the view of the west wall panning toward the north. There's the scaffolding. Irma Evans holding up the shovel. She does a good job of that. She also wields a mean axe, so you got to be careful what you say about Irma. Mark Henderson did a lot of the stonework on this part of the wall, as did a lot of others. There's the rafter poles for the office. And of course, we still have the window to do
No, I think we'll stop it right here.
out at the top.
We clear, not made a point of digging under the foundation, but
No, just pick
there's
some off the
plenty of
edge.
material here, and we'll just go ahead and stick it back.
So you think that there's been some patches to the walls that, as you say, some of the mortar was not found on site.
Yeah, this outer seal clay, I haven't seen anything like that in the near vicinity here. It sure held up though for 130 years, but you don't
Now
have to go
there's-
very far in to see.
Yeah, but that looks kind of like
Yeah.
this. Well, of course, that's what come out of there too.
Well, we'll check.
Standing on what I believe to be the engine in the boiler room, looking at the door that the wood pile was by in the A.E. Matthews sketch of 1867. We put in the new sashes, that's the original header, and then in the foreground at the slant is one of the old rafter beams, probably floor joists, and then the sill. We don't know exactly what that sill looks like, but it certainly is stout and binds that wall together. There's still lots of mysteries and questions to answer about the mill, and plenty of room for a lot of people to have fun solving those mysteries. For example, what did the rafter structure look like? What did maybe the rooms in this upper story of the mill, how did they fit into the rafters? How did the belting and shafting work? Here in front of you is some kind of a rafter beam that's mortise and tenon and kind of fancy right here at the top or bottom. We don't know. Maybe each end had the same kind of configuration. You can see that it is also pinned with dowels. And we laid these up on one of the support beams for the amalgamating barrels, but it looks like that other old timber fits and dovetails into that piece. So from that one can start thinking about how those rafter pieces went together. There's the door to the office. We're now looking west. The office is just beyond that wall. We're now looking at the door that's on the east wall, and as you can see, the header here is original, but the sill and the jambs are ones that we put in. Over here on this window that's between the two, we've just preserved it. Everything is in place as originally was, so everything is original on that particular wall. As we move on to the south, here we have put in the new header built by Gail and Ken Christenot, the two jambs, but you can see that the sill is still the original sill. So we've tried to do not a restoration as much as a stabilization, and it seemed the best way to stabilize where possible is to make the piece as similar as possible, and that would hold it. This particular wall here was cracking quite badly. As you can see, it wouldn't be very long before that whole arch would have dropped out had we not put that sill in there. Above this are the beams for the landing for the stairway, and then the doorway into the apartment. we need to get up there on a ladder now and to make some measurements, measure those beams. John Ellingson, the curator of for the state of Montana Historical Society of Virginia and Nevada City, is making detailed sketches of elevations and all the parts of this mill, and we'll get some better ideas and better guesses as what it looked like when it was in its prime. We're now looking at some iron gratings that remain from a little artifact in the southeast corner of the mill. There's some stonework here. It looks like it was a furnace or a hearth. Don't have any idea what this was for, but somewhere they had to drive the mercury off of the amalgam in order to recover the gold, and this may have been a location where they would have had the furnace or fire and retort in order to do that. Still one more mystery to solve and to have fun thinking about.
I didn't look at you, but I think Nick's looking at you. It was hanging down. Now let's
There's
see
the last gate panel going
what
in,
metal.
fence panel.
Spaced out from center to center. Looks like anywhere from 32 to 36 inches apart. Yeah, 32 to 36. You also
Okay, talk about it again.
you have a chimney here. It's about 8 inches wide. Goes all the way up to the top here, and it looks like it's 6 to 7 inches north of this wall or this window right here. Goes all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
Okay. From the bottom of the sill plate to the door to the top of the bottom sill plate on the window, it's 89 inches. On a cooler day on the corner there, and it looks good. Now this might even take in one of these poles, one that's probably the loosest, and run it across and tie it into this wall. It would really strengthen up this wall here.
Okay. Everybody's packed up and ready to go. End of the 97 Christenot Mill Preservation Association BLM stabilization of the mill. Dogs and workers. I guess they're too hard of workers. They don't want to say anything.
Give out. Maybe.
Need to say something for posterity there, Lee.
How about you get over here and let me take a picture of you?
Yeah, we could do that too.
Might mention the greenheads or something.
Anybody's
All right.
going here, huh? I'm the one that talks all the time. Let's see. The thoughts are that every year we need to do a little more stabilization and maybe a 3 or 4 day weekend around Labor Day. So that might be the need up here. The flies may not be so bad. Speaking of flies, you weren't here, you missed a good peach pie. That was good.
Thank you.
You can say something, Betty. Say goodbye.
Well, I think this is the end of a nice 2-week period.
Lem for wonderful cooperation.
Right, so you're
Yeah.
getting past my place over there, stop in? No.
Go over there quite often.
No.
Stop in for a piece of pie.
Yes. I'm over there with the Hulkinsons quite often, so.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. At the cement one or?
You have a working family. You
No
really,
kidding.
you have a working family. They're,
Good to meet you both.
And
Enjoyed it very
friends.
much. And friends.
Feel like
Yeah.
I'm part of it.
and I'll try to make copies on the sheets like I showed you. I think they're. Is that good enough?
Shady
They're,
places for
they're
both
pretty
our
nice.
dogs.
Yeah.
Well, you look at them and not able to get.
Yeah, then if I need any other ones.
Yeah, and in a print.
The shady spots.
It slides too. You know, if you want to slide, I'll just make sure I keep the negative.
Well, mine in